Welcome. I'm Jessica Pelkey, and I'll be your mentor through this webinar, Anxiety and Depression in Changing Times. In Chapter 1, what are the faces of depression and anxiety to watch for? Chapter 2, how may we recognize and respond to anxiety in an interaction? And Chapter 3, how may we manage anxiety and depression as care partners? Well, we're going to start off with Chapter 1. What are the faces to be watching for? Here we go.
What we're talking about today is recognizing symptoms of anxiety and or depression in someone living with dementia. So what we're trying to do, if you'll get your hand out, I'm going to give you a resource here because you'll always know where this thing is. And it's, you lose your hand, we got issues. And I particularly want you to take your thumb, your index finger, and your middle finger and bring them together, because it turns out these three fingers are hardwired together in your brain and in your body. And the nerve that goes in there that gives you sensation and allows you to move your fingers with skill is called the median nerve. And it runs through the carpal tunnel. And some of you might be familiar with carpal tunnel syndrome because you've overused it and it gets really irritated. But these three fingers represent skill on the human hand. And that skill actually is coming from that median nerve, which is brachial plexus, which is spinal cord, which is up to your brain, and the whole cortex of your brain. A lot of it is devoted to running your body. And so what I'm going to tell you is that when it comes to sorting out something called, take your index finger and go, anxiety or depression. Anxiety or depression. That's a two-edged sword, because what it is, it's an emotional reaction, distress. It's distress to a situation, to a life, to what's going on. So anxiety is a oh, and depression is a or a. Now the down one has two faces to it. When I go down, take a look, and I'm going to see what you guys would recognize for me. I don't care. Not now. I'm not hungry yet. Please just leave me alone. Leave the lights off.
Teepa, your grandchildren are coming. Aren't you excited to see them?
No.
Oh, I thought you looked forward to them coming. They're going to be here really soon.
Shut the door, would you?
Can I get you? Hey, Teepa, what about some coffee? Can I get you some coffee with a little bit of cream in it?
Could you shut up and leave me alone, please? I mean, I don't mean to be ugly, but just get out.
Hey, Rachel, I'm really worried about Teepa, because if she doesn't want the grandchildren or coffee, we've got a real problem on our hands.
Yeah. So one face of depression is flat, down, not liking, wanting anything that she's always liked or wanted, not taking care the way but just not caring. And it's also not enjoying, and it's also not sleeping very well, but not engaging in anything. So she may look like she sleeps a lot. She may be in the bed a lot. What else did you notice about what she wanted in the environment? Leave the lights off, leave me alone, close the door. So people start isolating and hiding. So that's one face of depression. So let's try it again.
Teepa, your grandchildren are coming. Are you looking forward to seeing them?
You and your damn big mouth. You're such a pain in the ass. Give me a cup of coffee if you want to do something that's worth anything.
Okay, I'll get you a cup of coffee, but I wanted to let you know you're
you always don't bring them here, because that's all they do. They make so much noise. And tell you something else. Get me some sugar. I want sugar.
Well, sugar, you never drink sugar in your coffee.
I don't want sugar in my coffee, damn it. I want something decent to eat. They don't have anything worth talking about.
Like salty stuff, not sweet stuff.
I'm going to stay up all night, and if I want to walk about naked, I will. You are not the boss of me. Get out and leave me alone. I'll go if I want to go.
And I'm guessing the first word that's coming to your brain is not depressed. When you think about that, Teepa.
Yeah, and that's what's tricky is depression. Do this. Depression, when it's down here, has two different faces. It can be an agitated atypical depression, which often gets missed, especially if somebody hold your middle finger up. If you hold it up all by itself, it's not that common. Actually, it's more common to have another thing with it if they have dementia. And the reason I'm using the middle finger for dementia is nobody wants to have it. Nobody likes talking about it. Everybody hopes it isn't happening. And when it does happen, ooh, man, we have an immediate reaction to it. But it's actually pretty common for anxiety and dementia to hang out together. It's also pretty common for depression and dementia to hang out together. And it can have one of two faces. It could be that sad and mobile depression, or it could be that atypical depression. And the problem is when you have that atypical depression, people just think you have behaviors in dementia. Oh, and then we have your thumb. Now, I didn't do anything with your thumb because we're not talking about it today, but I want to point it out. Wiggle it around a whole lot and look at it. And what I'm going to tell you is this represents delirium. When you have a very rapid change. Now, what you might notice is a worsening of anxiety or a worsening of depression, or you might see a worsening of dementia. But when it happens, now you have to do it, click it. When it happens fast, when it's a rapid change, I want you to think beyond anxiety or depression or dementia and think, ooh, something else might be going on here that really I should look at very carefully. Because if we don't figure it out, 90+% of the time, there is something really wrong that if we don't do something different, the person goes downhill to the point of not surviving. I mean, it can be something really serious, like they're taking their medicines wrong. It could be something really serious, like they have an infection, like COVID. It could be something really serious, like they've quit eating. It could be something really serious, like their person has died and they are not responding well. And it's not just depression. They are all turned around. They think they've been abandoned. They think someone is cheating on them. They think someone is stealing. And this isn't their usual dementia. This is something more. Then we got to go to delirium. But today we're really focusing on this thing, anxiety, depression, and
Another really common one is that diabetes gets a little bit out of whack because that high blood pressure gets a little bit out of whack. Those kinds of things can really, pneumonia, urinary tract infections.
and if you don't figure it out quickly, you could have a huge problem on your hands where if you figured it out, we're back to just having dementia and either depression and or anxiety. And people can have both anxiety and depression. So what we're going to take a look at is sort of what do we know recently? Because there have been some shifts lately. So what I'm going to do is ask you a couple questions. How common is depression? I've said it's pretty common. How common before COVID? And this is research that people had done about how common is it? What percent of people living with dementia actually have clinical symptoms of depression? What do you think? Is it less than 5%? 10 to 15%, about 30 to 50%, about 75%, or you could say E, I don't know. So in the chat, tell us what you're thinking before COVID, not with COVID, but just in general. What do y'all think? What do you think the probable is? And Rachel will gather up the data here and tell us what y'all are thinking.
Getting a lot of C's.
A lot of C's.
And we're getting a couple of D's and a couple of E's, but we're getting a lot of C's. C's
Okay.
or D's.
A lot of C's or D's. And it turns out the research shows us somewhere between 30 to 50% of people who develop dementia also have depression. Now, what we aren't always sure of is did they get depression first and then develop dementia, or did they have dementia and then develop depression? But it can be a variety of those, but 30 to 50%, that's a lot of people. That was pre-COVID. So how common is anxiety for people living with dementia? So let's see what you think about this one. And this is before COVID, about 10%, about 25%, about 50%, about 75%. I don't know. I have no idea. I really don't know how common it was before COVID.
Well, either they're continuing for the last question or they're doing the same answer, but there are a lot of C's coming in.
A lot of C's.
And then there's some B's as well.
And then there's some B's. It turns out whether you put B, C, or D, we aren't sure because it depends on the research. Some studies say as few as 25%. Somebody says, some research shows this as many as 75%. People have significant symptoms of anxiety, at least on a weekly basis. On a weekly basis, they become significantly anxious. They have significant symptoms, somewhere between 25 and 75%. Now, that was pre-COVID. So now let's talk about what's happening now for people living with dementia. So what do you think the current estimates are these same conditions? Whether it's anxiety or depression.
Getting a lot of D's in Teepa.
Yeah. So what we know is that in both conditions, for sure, during this COVID situation, we have at least 50 to 65% or higher people living with dementia are experiencing symptoms of anxiety or depression, and sometimes in combination with their dementia. Here's the tricky part. If you're just meeting somebody during COVID and you've not had a lot of relationship with them, it could be really difficult. The thing about anxiety and depression, though, is even among people who are living with dementia, a lot of it symptoms are treatable. Now, we can't get it to entirely go away, but we can manage the symptoms of anxiety or depression a lot better if we understand it. What we also know is that, quite frankly, many people who describe that they're depressed or are having memory problems or having somatic complaints, actually, when we start watching them, within 5 years, those people have developed full-blown dementia, because what they are recognizing as problems with memory or having pain complaints or having things like that, they're describing themselves as having depression. It actually isn't just depression. They're already starting to have experiences with dementia. And we also need to be thoughtful because it's tricky, because we have this typical and then we have this atypical. So what we're really looking for are changes in appetite, sleep, self-care, pleasures, irritability. I can't take this anymore. I just can't take this. I just wish I was dead. I just can't handle this. Nobody gives a crap. I just wish I were gone. I just might as well be dead. Okay. And we also want to look at their changing things, like they're changing their schedule dramatically, or their living situation is changing dramatically.
Jess here. We've seen the faces. Let's take a look at those faces again. So Teepa talked about two faces of depression. Can you identify the two faces of depression? The first one is sort of a sad and immobile, kind of a flat look. The second one can be covered and present as angry. The third face, we've got anxiety. So anxiety, of course, is in the center, and we've got our flat look on the left and our angry look on the right. Now, if you're noticing a rapid change in demeanor, that's something that you want to pay attention to and investigate carefully, because there may be something going on there that's more acute. Seems like with COVID, either we're apart from our folks, and so we may be coming into a change that's happened over time, or you may notice as you're spending time with somebody that they do have a sudden change. But these are some faces to be looking out for.
I'm going to move us over and we're going to watch a video. And this is a video pre-COVID. This is a pre-COVID webinar situation. I want you to watch Teepa carefully and Melanie carefully, and I want you to see what you think might be going on here in this situation.
Hey.
Oh, hey.
Hey, sweetheart. Listen.
Teepa, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
Look, she gave me these.
The
I don't know.
exercise.
Yeah, the exercise
Right.
things. And I'm supposed to start with the easiest and go to the hardest ones, but I don't know which. I didn't. She didn't. I don't know which one is which.
Yeah, they're kind of not
There's
marked very
three
well,
colors,
are they?
but there's not any. It doesn't say on them which is
So-
which.
One.
That's for one. Oh, this is the one I do first?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, so this is first. This is the one first.
That's one.
Because it's the easiest and you're sure.
I am absolutely sure.
Okay, so that's the first one.
That's the first one.
And this one is what?
2.
Second?
Second.
All right, well, this is the second hardest.
The second hardest.
And so this is the one I do next.
Next.
And then here comes this one.
3.
Now, I'm not sure I'll see this on here.
That's hard to tell, isn't it?
That's third or three? Third.
Third.
Because I do it third.
You do it third.
That's like first grade, second grade, third grade.
Nice
so you
work.
go to first grade first.
First.
Then you go to second grade,
grade.
and then you get to third grade,
Third
and
grade.
then you keep going.
Then they start test.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Well, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, so we're going to pause. So in that scenario, was there any evidence of depression? I'm going to start with that one. Any evidence of typical or atypical depression at all in that video? Do you see anything or hear anything that made you think depression?
Larry said no.
No.
No, we're getting lots of no's.
So Melanie, you said you interacted with me. Would you say any symptoms that made you worry about possible depression with me?
You know, it would depend on if I noticed something that was a change. If that was something that I would expect you to be able to get those, mark them, you'd be fine. But seeing you isolated one time, I'm thinking it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're not seeing anything remarkable that really causes your brain to go, ooh, we need to get this looked at. Okay, so how about anxiety? Did you see anything that made you wonder about the possibility of Teepa having anxiety? So you guys out there, we won't ask Melanie yet, and Rachel's keeping an eye if you guys say anything. Anything about anxiety that you noticed in that interaction? Versus her dementia, because she does have dementia. She definitely has dementia. Was there anything about anxiety that you picked up on?
People are saying yes. She was a little worried about which one came first and asked for a lot of confirmation. She was very worried about the band. She was worried about doing it right. She was focused on doing the task correctly, taking notes.
So again, Melanie, what are you thinking? Because you interacted.
I think they're being awful hard on Teepa.
So what do you think might be true about Teepa that is?
Teepa's always liked to do things right, and she wasn't quite sure. She went and found a resource. She got some other information. She set up a system to make it work. I don't think she's doing this. I think she got her problem fixed and she's good to go.
So how would you know that maybe what you're looking at did have some anxiety in it? So I have these, you fixed them for me and they're labeled.
Mm-hmm.
So what might be the case that would make you wonder if I do have anxiety?
I'm just not sure. Are you sure that's right? Can you check them? I don't think this is right. I think somebody mixed them up, and I think was it the first one is the hardest, or the first one was the easiest? What will happen if I do them wrong? If I do them wrong, what's going to happen?
Okay, so I'm going to pause. So what do you notice about Melanie this time? What do you notice that you didn't hear in Teepa before? What do you hear a change in?
They said it seemed anxious when she first came in. Fixation. Tone of voice. Voice is distressed.
Okay, so now we're getting into the good stuff, which is, so I don't know what should I do? And so what do you notice about the face and the voice? What do you notice about the face and the voice? What are you seeing here and what are you hearing here?
You said grimace, tension, distress.
So you're starting these things that I have, even though Melanie's given these to me, it's just, I'm still not sure. And so Melanie did what? Melanie did a demonstration. One of the things we might see in anxiety is what we call pressured speech. this very rapid fire, like putting the words out. Is she actually waiting for an answer? I mean, does she have turn taking at this point? And when she talks, does she keep talking until she runs out of breath and then it's, and how many times is she repeating a message? Does it seem to be getting better? No. Can she self-soothe? Can she bring it down at all? Yeah. Is she hyper-focused? I mean, really focused on this. And how many of you really truly believe that whether you stretch the yellow band 10 times first or whether you stretch the blue 10 times first, more than likely what the person was trying to get her to do is 30 repetitions? What's easier to count? 10, 10, and 10, or 30 with one band? Added to which, if she can do this, would it be good to know, can she do this? And if she has those two down, can we get her to do this? Because if we can, we're doing more than just working on the action. What we're really doing is optimizing her upper body strength. And that's huge. Because what we want is we want to optimize the quality of her life. She's willing to do it. This is where anxiety can keep her from initiating and doing anything. And so let's, Melanie, go back to being anxious again, if you would.
If I get it wrong, if I do the wrong one first, will that be, if it will get really, really worse?
Hey, Mel.
Yes, what?
Yeah, you're really worried about getting it wrong.
I am.
Yeah, that's scary. That's not good to get it wrong. We don't want it wrong. So, you know, I notice on them, they say first. The yellow one says first.
Okay, first. Okay, first.
Absolutely, you want to do that one first. So that's why it says worst. So go ahead. I want you to take it.
Let me write that down.
I want you to actually do it. I don't want you to write it. I want you to try it. Okay, hold on to it. And I want you to stretch. We're going to do 10. Okay, 10? You ready? 10 of them.
10.
1, good. 2, okay, now 3. Hey, Mel.
What?
Good, good, good. Okay, let's do it again.
How many?
4.
5.
5, good. And now at 6, we're gonna 6. And we're gonna good, good, good. Okay, now that was 6. So now we're on
7.
Yep. 8. 9. Can you make it to 10? Can you do 10?
I can do it.
Okay, let's do it. 10.
10.
Woo!
All right. All right. So we've got that.
Give yourself a hand, Melanie. Give yourself a hand.
I just did a little, you're just too sweet.
Now give me a high five. That was excellent. You got it. So we're going to do the first one 10 times.
1 for 10.
1 for 10. What do you notice about her breathing? What do you notice about her voice? What do you notice about her anxiety? How did I do that? When she said, I said, oh, Melanie. I used her name. That name is incredibly important because it actually causes something really special to happen in your brain. Your preferred name is one of the strongest things that gets your reticular activating system paying attention. And your reticular activating system is your attention system. And so once I get her attending, and I get her attending with, oh, hey, Melanie. And a pause. What? Hey, Mel, you're wondering which one comes first. Now, what do you notice I'm doing? Right beside my body in this open space here. What am I doing? Now, you guys have to type stuff in. We can't hear you if you're talking.
Showing the number, demonstrating how to hold it.
Showing her right in the middle of her visual field. I am showing her, this is the one we do first, and you do it 10 times. Here, and Melanie wanted to do, and I said, let's do it. Because what am I trying to get her to do at this moment? I'm trying to get her to breathe, because one of the things that anxious people do is they hold their breath. One of the other things they do is hold their body. One of the other things they do is they fixate their gaze. And what I'm getting her to do is pull this out. When you pull this out, it actually causes you to open up. And then when you ease off, it's like a bellows. And so rather than talking, which she's not going to listen right now a whole lot, I was lucky to get this. What I did is 1, 2, and then 3, and now. Good, good. Okay, and if she starts up again, because she started up with the language, now we're going to go 4,
4,
5,
5,
and
6.
and
We're supposed to, so we've got 4 more to do, right? 4 more?
4 more to do. 4 more to do. Now, what's happening to her brain as she gets oxygen in it? The thinking part's starting to work again. The language part is starting to work again. She comes out of an anxious moment and she's feeling more in control and connected. She still has dementia. But now that we've done this one and we just did that, I also want to give her, other than just worrying about which one comes first, I want to make sure I engage her. Because without the engagement, yes, she may hold on to it. She just held on to it before and she walked away. She knew which one was, but was she actually doing it? No, she was wandering around and then going, okay, now, but now this one, I'm holding this one first, but it says third. And so all of a sudden we have somebody who has potential to become anxious, and how we manage that anxiety really makes a difference in the quality of her life.
Jess here. You just finished chapter 2 in Anxiety and Depression in Changing Times. In this chapter, Teepa and Melanie explored with us how we may recognize and respond to anxiety in an interaction. And so what we saw was an escalation in anxiety that was really noticeable in terms of what we saw about the person, what we heard from the person, and what they were doing. And so Teepa used Melanie's name pointedly as a way to get her to pause. She restated Melanie's concern. She reflected her words, and it wasn't just her words, though, also what she looked like and what she was doing. So Teepa was doing a little bit of mirroring while validating Melanie's concern. Teepa had Melanie do with her and had her breathing throughout in order to restore that brain function and bring her amygdala down. She gave her positive reinforcement throughout that helped shift Melanie to a new place. So, how do we recognize and respond? By carefully noticing and observing, what are we seeing visually? What are we hearing in intonation, frequency, volume? And what are they doing? And can we give that back a little? Can we be expressive in our interaction as a way of showing them we're on their side and connecting in order to move to a different place together? I hope you've taken away something from this video that you're able to try when you find yourself in a similar situation.
So Melanie, talk to us a tiny bit about what's happened to people who have potential to have anxiety, but also have dementia since COVID.
Ooh, so one of the things about anxiety is my world gets small and it all gets right up in here. And with COVID, everybody's world has gotten really small and right up in here. And even though I used to be able to find somebody to help me get some of that out, now it's just rolling and 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 rolling. COVID is not good for dementia and anxiety or depression.
Yeah. And so what we're likely to see is more profiles. And so I'm going to sort of go to the next slide, which is the thing about depression and anxiety when somebody already has dementia is that there's likely a combination of causes. So Teepa already had dementia and she had that potential to get anxious. And now we've added COVID and social isolation and not exercising regularly and somebody having to give her the bands and walk away rather than exercise with her every day. Her routines, her habits have fallen apart. She's not getting to be social with people she's usually social. How is she going to fill her time? We've got to figure out how to fill time. And if we're in a community, we're having to spread ourselves thin. And if we are in a family situation, it's 24/7 and we're spread thin. What we can also see though, is people who have a tendency towards something, when we isolate them and we take supports away, we can see a reemergence of something that was present but not diagnosed. And we can see the symptoms really escalate really quickly. And so go ahead, Mel.
Or another piece is maybe it was present but managed.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I've had anxiety all my life or depression all my life, but I've been able to treat it. I've been able to manage it because I've been able to have enough structure in my life. I've been able to have enough distractions in my life. My world has been big enough. I've been able to manage it. But now with COVID, ooh, not so much.
Yeah. And now with COVID, we have a lot of, and it's not just the people living with dementia, a lot of people are having resistance to seeking help. And there's reasons for that. It's risky. It's risky at a level it's never been before. And so people are not seeking assistance. And sometimes it's the person living with dementia, and sometimes it's you guys, it's care partners, because you've got fear or distress going on, or you've tried and it just doesn't work. And what we do know is that even situational depression, which is not depression that's internally started, it starts by the environment. If we don't address it, it can escalate and it can get to a place where it really starts to change things. And then Melanie, if you would talk a little bit about depression and somatic pain complaints and when we should be suspicious that what we're looking at isn't like a painful elbow. It may be a painful elbow, but there may be something else that's going on in addition to a painful elbow.
Yeah, because there's this real intricate relationship between pain and depression. And about 50% of people or more with chronic pain will also have depression. And depression sometimes looks like pain. So if I've got Teepa said elbow. So I've got this elbow and this elbow just isn't right. And sometimes it's this elbow and sometimes it's this elbow and sometimes this makes it worse and sometimes that makes it better. And sometimes it's this very kind of inconsistent, constantly evolving kind of pain that you just get that you can't get a hold of it. You can't really understand it. You do all of your pains descriptions, you do all of your pain analysis, and it's almost like this pain is roving all over the person's body. Now that could be fibromyalgia, but it also could be something else like this somatic pain that's associated with depression.
Now we're talking mostly about people living with dementia, but there's two people living with dementia when we're talking about professionals and family care partners and the person living with dementia. Who's living with dementia, in fact? Who all's living with dementia in that situation? Let's be honest, we all are. One of us has it inside of ourselves and can't do anything about it, but the people around us are also living with it. So guess what we know about care partners, family care partners, and depression and anxiety? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. What do we know about professionals though? We're subject to it too, especially during COVID. We've seen it like in COVID, like no other time in history. I mean, oh my heavens, we're all experiencing some elements of it because we've all experienced huge, huge changes.
So, Teepa, I sometimes think if I could manage the depression and anxiety of the care partners,
Mm.
then the life of the person living with dementia would get a lot better for them.
Yeah, and so we're going to look at a little scenario here and see what you think. So I'm going to show you a little clip here. And I'm sorry I was showing you, I thought I had it off, but I clicked the wrong thing. But here we go. So this is Melanie the helper this time. Only Melanie has been not able to see me for a while. And the reason she hasn't been able to see me a while is that I haven't been available. She hasn't been available. Maybe she herself she has risk factors and she was trying to avoid contact, but we're finally getting back together. It's been a while. So Melanie's coming in to be helpful.
Teepa, 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 Teepa. Hey.
Hey,
Hey. How's your coffee doing?
that's mine.
Yeah, it is your coffee. Looks like you're out.
I'm fine.
Let's go get some coffee. Come on.
You go on and get coffee.
All right. So, Teepa,
Yeah,
some coffee?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Let's go.
Yeah, you should go.
Teepa,
What?
do you want me to get it? Or
Yeah,
you, wanna
you
come?
get it.
Okay. All right. Give me
You
your
get
cup.
it. No, you go get
Well,
it
I
and
thought
bring
you-
it.
I thought you wanted some coffee.
I do.
Well, let's go.
Just never mind.
Come on.
Don't come on. Just get out. I don't like
I
you.
thought she wanted some coffee. She usually likes coffee.
Okay. Okay, so here's the question. Who's showing some evidence of depression and who's showing some evidence of anxiety? And how do we know? So go ahead and give us some information. What are you realizing? Who's anxious and who's depressed? And who's got dementia and who's living with it?
Someone said both.
Yeah. So who's not helping? So what do you think some strategies are we could try with Melanie so that Melanie could change and maybe be able to work with me better? What do you think are some things we should help Melanie with? What do you think might be helpful?
So Kendra said identify herself.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause you guys because what I want you to do is we want to outreach to Melanie because Melanie is really anxious. So one of the first things we might want to do is pretty simple. Hey Mel, it's Teepa.
Hey, Teepa.
So how did it go with Teepa today?
You know, I was looking forward to seeing her. You know, I wanted to nurture her, but
Huh.
it did not go well at all.
Wow, it didn't go well. Yeah. Well,
It
so
Haven't
there were,
seen me at all.
wow, it didn't seem to go well at all. Did anything feel right to you?
You know, not really. I mean, she looked the same and she had her coffee cup, but you know, nothing felt right. Nothing felt comfortable or good.
Yeah, so the whole thing felt pretty miserable to you. I wonder, you were really excited about seeing her. Was she excited about seeing you? Did you see that?
Obviously not. She
Obviously not. Yeah.
told me to go on. I
Oh
should
my.
go.
Yeah, that's got to be really disappointing. I hate that for you because you were so excited and it just didn't go well. I'm wondering something, Mel. When you were coming in to spend time with her, I'm wondering whether you and she were moving at the same speed.
No, I was really excited and happy, and she was more withdrawn, a little bit more to
More
herself.
withdrawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm wondering what would happen. if you,
Yeah.
and maybe not knock and pause and see what happens.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, but I mean, it's something maybe anything else you can think of? Because I mean, you really love her. I know you love spending time with her. This is really hard. It must be heartbreaking, really hard to not feel a connection.
Yeah. So that kind
Now
of.
I'm going to pause. So rather than trying to fix Melanie, what am I doing for Melanie, the anxious person who's really flustered? Because she's feeling really like, oh my gosh, what's happened? And if I just go in and start trying to fix her without really connecting and going where she is, what's the probability that could happen here? She'll go into depression or she'll become even more anxious. Well, I just don't know what else. And Melanie is doing the best she could, but she was hoping for more because what's happened is Teepa is different. And Melanie is also different, but she's not really looking in the mirror right in this moment until I helped her take a chance and go, wow, that was really surprising. That didn't go at all the way you wanted. And sometimes when we try to help people who are in the line of fire, sometimes what we do is we just give them more advice. And the last thing they need is feeling more anxious. And instead I said, wow, that's got to be an incredibly disappointing. That's so frustrating. You so wanted to be with her and it so didn't go well. But I didn't say didn't go well. I said, so how did it go? Yeah, not good. You hear a lot of reflection, a lot of support, which is really one of those amazing things we want to do to support people who are in support, because it's lonely out there. And no matter how hard you're working, things are changing and you can't always fix them. And sometimes in our effort to be helpful, all we do is make people feel less comfortable, not more comfortable. So what's Melanie, what do you think you want to try if you were to try Teepa again?
Yeah, I think I would try that matching the pace with her.
Trying to match her pace a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you were going really, really pretty quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit when you say you're going to match the patient. Can you give me a couple of go ahead and help me with that. So you're going to knock?
Yeah, like knock and then pause.
And then pause. Okay, so you want to pause then. And then
wait for her to kind of give me permission.
Wait for her to give you. So yeah, so that's what you want to try to do. So
Yeah.
you're going to try that next time.
I think I will.
Yeah, so you think you're going to try that. All right, well, let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens.
Okay, I'll try.
Okay, you're going to try. Yeah, I can't ask any more than that. Nobody can ask more than that as you're willing to try. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Teepa, honey, you want some coffee?
Nope.
All right, well, let me know if you want some.
Yep.
All righty.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can you get me some coffee?
Yeah, I'm glad to.
Well, that's my cup.
All right.
They're the stupidest people.
Ooh. Okay, so group out there. Did this go as yucky as the first time, or was it better? Let's evaluate, because this is not magic and it doesn't get fixed magically. Melanie had this great plan of what she was going to do, and then when she saw Teepa, so how did it go this time, Rachel? What are they saying this time?
They're saying better, less reaction, a step in the right direction, still a bit rushed, but it was better.
It was better. So what's happening with Teepa that Melanie's having still a hard time adjusting to? Because she's still thinking about Teepa as the Teepa she knew. What are we noticing about Teepa that Melanie, because she was anxious and she's starting to control the anxiety, did Melanie have to do all this hard work when Teepa walked up to her with those bands before? Or did she just need to, what's happened to Teepa's speed of processing here? What's happening to her affect? What's happening to her willingness to engage with Melanie? What kind of thing is she doing over and over and not even making a lot of eye contact? And how possessive has she gotten about that coffee cup? Whereas before she let Melanie hold the bands, do things with the bands. Now it's like, whoa. What might be actually going on and we're missing it? How well is Teepa appreciating what Melanie is saying versus she has a thought she wants coffee when she looks at the coffee cup. She has a thought, I don't know what you want, but that's my cup. What are you doing? And she realizes maybe what Melanie said a while after she says it. So Melanie thinks she has slowed down, and she has, but she slowed down to where Teepa was before. Where's Teepa now? Is there a possibility Teepa has, in addition to that history of a little bit of anxiety due to COVID isolation and lack of things to do and social not really engaging, could it be we're starting to also see depression? So Melanie's trying to control her anxiety, but Teepa, in addition, it's still not. Melanie, so was that better or about the same? What do you think?
Well, I think it was maybe not as annoying to Teepa.
So maybe not quite as annoying to Teepa.
I don't think I made Teepa as
Yeah,
distressed.
she didn't really throw you out. I mean, she just wanted her coffee, but was she as interactive? Have you seen her before?
But we still didn't connect at all. I mean, it was
Really
still very
connect.
parallel.
Yeah. And you talked about you were going to do sort of something with your hand and reach out. Did you?
Yeah, this thing, I forgot about that. I was so focused on not being excited and not talking.
Wow.
I left this part out.
Yeah. So we think we can change quicker and easier than we can, huh?
Yeah,
Man, this change in behavior is hard stuff, huh?
for me it is.
Well, it's hard. It's hard for me too. Thank you for trying. So let's go back to the thing you want to work, because you've slowed down. That was really huge. And now you're going to try this, maybe?
And her name.
Good, because things are getting better. Let's give it a try. Let's see if it truly is depression or if it's maybe not practicing a lot of things. Now, if you guys have questions, you want to get them in now, and we'll do what we can. I'm going to show you one more because we want to show one more situation so you get a chance to see what can happen when. Now, is this just addressing Teepa's changes? Am I just talking about Teepa's changes since COVID? No, when someone is living with dementia, everyone around them starts to feel the impact of living with dementia. And when something like COVID attacks the entire system, guess what? We got to be tuned in, even though neither of us maybe has COVID, had COVID, has been through COVID. This risk of COVID has changed everything in our world and has created these senses of being trapped with one another or totally abandoned by one another, that I don't know what to do. I don't know what else to do. There's too much time in a day. There's too little time in a day. She doesn't like me anymore. I don't know how to engage her anymore. And so trying to figure out how to support one another is definitely more challenging than it used to be. So let's see what happens when Melanie actually follows through on the things she said she wanted to try. Let's see what happens this time.
Teepa.
Hey,
Hey,
hey, how are you?
good. It's Melanie.
It's what?
Melanie.
Oh, Melanie.
Yeah.
I'm Teepa.
You are Teepa.
Yeah.
Good.
Those are pretty. Now, so far, is this different? What do y'all say? Is this different at all? Does this feel and look different than it did those other two times?
Yes, a lot better. Feels good. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Very.
What are some things that are really significantly different here? What do you notice about the two of them that are significantly different?
So right off, Lisa said touch. We have eye contact, body language.
So that idea of saying, hey, offering your hand, waiting till Teepa says, yes, you can come in, engage with me. And when Teepa didn't get something, it's what? Rather than just saying it from there, Melanie came in, got down, sat down and said, it's Melanie. Oh, Melanie, I'm Teepa, which says, wow. Teepa doesn't recall that that's how Melanie started the conversation. Whoa, maybe we have some new problems with immediate recall. If Melanie expects Teepa to hold on to content, ooh, we could have a bit of a challenge. But right now, this is going super. This is sort of exciting for who? Both of us. We are both having something to do other than wipe a table or worry about me or wonder whether this is going to go okay. This is sort of working. Not only that, watch what happens next. So Melanie does her, it's Melanie, and Teepa says,
Or Teepa.
Yeah,
Good.
those are pretty.
whoa, who starts a conversation? Those are pretty. Starts a conversation, might I add.
Teepa does.
Yeah.
You like this?
Yeah,
Like
those are nice.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Now, does that sound as much like somebody who's depressed? Those are pretty. Those are nice. Taking turns. Okay, now let's see.
go with the thing.
They match.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of go.
They well, yeah.
Yeah.
They're the similar or
Similar.
there's some other one that goes.
There's some
there.
other one.
Like the similar, but not similar. Something else.
Something else.
Uh-oh, what are you starting to notice here? Who's still Teepa and who still has a risk of anxiety when she can't figure something out? What are you noticing? What went away first?
Someone said the smile.
Now the facial expression of connection, then the eye contact, and now.
Yes. Wish I could think of that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Oh, and now, yikes, I'm not feeling comfortable about this. And whereas Teepa before used to seek out Melanie for support, now she's going back to, uh-oh, that's not good. So let's see what Melanie does to respond, because it was going well. Let's see what Melanie
I
tried.
don't know what that is. It's something.
Something.
Anyway.
Well, I like yours as well.
Ooh. Now, notice that was a really clever maneuver. So she responded to Teepa, it's something. Yeah, it's something. I like yours as well. And then she thought, yeah, leave the earrings alone. I don't know where I'm going with that. It's just more words. So what she decided was, I know Teepa usually likes coffee. But when I reached for the cup before, that didn't work. I wonder what would happen if I just touched the very edge of the table, just the very edge of the table. I wonder what would happen. So she tries touching just the very edge of the table to see what happens.
Well,
as soon as she touches the edge of the table, what does Teepa look at?
Her finger.
Oh, she's looking at that finger. She has eye contact. And then when Melanie touches the table, it's like, my table. So now take your index finger and stick it out and wiggle it around a little bit. Now I'm going to hold the cup. How many of you think it would be easy to pick that cup up with just your index finger? Could you point to the cup with just your index finger? Aha. So what Melanie does in a very skillful way is indicate she wants Teepa to look at something, but she's not trying to take it, but she gets that Teepa does better when she sees things and then can make comment on things she sees. Teepa does better.
how's your coffee holding up?
Well, it's empty.
Oh,
There's
no.
just, and look, somebody
So she says it's empty, but when she picks it up, what do you think happens? Because all of a sudden she's showing it to Melanie.
put what they put in there.
That's not right.
Well, no, it's supposed to. What's the other thing you take?
Medicine
No, well, no, it's just
with
look.
the water.
See that?
It's
Yeah,
water with water.
Oh. So she keeps trying to engage with Melanie to help her figure out what you put in there. It's not medicine, but it's, and Melanie says the word water, and yes, water. Now, why might Teepa initially have thought it was empty? How easy is it to see water in a white cup when it's just sitting there? But then when you move it, you start to notice it. Might she have gotten her medicine with water to drink in her white cup? Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure enough. So she took her medicine. That's good. But now
Water, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
water. I thought it was gonna be
Coffee.
the coffee, and it
Yeah.
isn't. It's just water.
It's just
see,
water.
see it?
It's not right.
Well, it's okay, but I don't much like it.
ooh, what are we seeing a little bit of again? Yeah, what do we think the possibilities of are either anxiety or depression? Is there, it's there. And, that's that. But Melanie's doing a much better job of helping. So we're not seeing it flare up and get out of control.
Teepa,
Uh-huh.
let's go get some coffee.
Oh, you know how to get it?
I do.
Oh, well, okay. Wait a minute. Here, you gonna hold that? Give me a second. I've been here a little bit of time.
Oh my heavens, what'd she get her to do? Oh my God, what did she do? What did she do?
Elisa said she got to hold the cup.
Melanie got to hold that cup that Teepa all but jerked her by the neck when she went to do it. What else did she get Teepa to do? Oh my heavens, she's standing up. She's not sitting in that chair. What'd she get her to do? Quit rubbing that tabletop. What else did she get her to do?
Stand up and follow her.
Be curious and be excited about going to get coffee. And then we have Teepa's dementia.
Okay.
Hey, Teepa.
Yeah. Well, that's mine, isn't it?
Still not really excited about Melanie having her cup, but she doesn't remember she handed it to her. That's mine.
But we wanted coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's go
okay.
get some.
Well, let's go get some.
Let's go.
Good idea.
Good idea.
Well, that's a slightly different reaction than they hire the stupidest people to work here. So our time essentially is up. And I'm hoping that how we spent the time got your brain going, got your brain thinking, got your energy up, got you going out of anxiety or depression into problem solving. Because maybe it's time to reach out and get some help, because it has been a long haul. And it's also pretty lonely for everybody.
Jess here. You finished chapter 3 of Anxiety and Depression in Changing Times. Chapter 3 was about how we may manage anxiety and depression as care partners. Now, whether we're family or professionals, we can be affected by changes in the person living with dementia and their status. We are also susceptible to anxiety and depression ourselves, whether it's in response to what may be happening with the person that we're caring for or something external. And so Teepa noticed that Melanie, as a care partner, was having a hard time responding to the changes that she's seen in Teepa in the video. And so what Teepa did is, instead of trying to fix it or give advice, which Melanie may not have been able to take in at that time, what Teepa did is she used her reflecting and validation skills in order to meet Melanie where she was. So instead of trying to fix anything, she just went up alongside Melanie. It seems like I'm noticing, tell me more about it. she got curious about what was going on for Melanie. And then, from that perspective, helped Melanie to identify what was working. And she asked her what she may want to try doing differently. So, whether it's ourselves that we are reflecting on, assessing, digging into what happened in that detail, like Teepa did with the video, examining the interaction in tiny bites in order to figure out, what's going well, what maybe wasn't optimal, what might I shift a little bit, whether it's for myself or helping another to identify those pieces. It's not from a place of judgment, but instead it's coming along beside the person and using empathy and curiosity to empower them to do something a little different. So thank you for joining us for this webinar. I so hope that you've taken some things away to put into your tool belt to utilize as you're working through and managing these changing times. Thanks again. Take care.